It started as a lark, a quick turn off of Interstate 70 to race down a few rural Indiana roads to visit the Hoosier State's highest point. It could have ended there that day as well. I've always suspected that many people, after taking in all that is Hoosier Hill, perhaps slightly chagrined at their early excitement, may shrug their shoulders and say, "That's it?" and leave slightly disappointed. It's not exactly the place you'd take an aspiring high pointer to for their first state high point, nor a place high on the list to visit when making major life decisions. But inspiration has been found in more mundane places, and on that particular August day, this small grove on a very slight rise, tucked in next to a cornfield, changed my life. In hindsight, it's easy to see inspiration's deck was stacked in its favor. I was headed for my 20-year high school class reunion in Wisconsin, and inclined to a bit of reflection, taking stock of what I'd accomplished with my life and what was next. By the time I crossed the Ohio-Indiana state line, I'd already been driving for hours, my mind skipping around from one flight of fancy to the next. Frankly, I was bored. Here I was, gliding into middle age at 38 years old, looking for something new to occupy my time. Throw in the fact that I've always had an affinity for places off the beaten path and an urge to explore them. With all that, it's sort of a no-brainer why I made that turn off Interstate 70. When I pulled in and parked at Hoosier Hill, I remembered laughing at the ridiculousness of it all. At this nondescript spot near the eastern border of the state, having claim to such a lofty title as the highest point in the state, and that it actually had the audacity to call itself a hill. And that could have been the end of it. But instead of a shrug of the shoulders and a "that's it," I found myself intrigued. There's a type of magic in places like this. A thought floated through my head. If this was Indiana's, what about the others? Quickly followed by, "You should check them all out." Of course, this made absolutely perfect sense. Before I'd even gotten back on the interstate to continue my journey, I had determined that this would be my next major life goal, to summit all 50 state high points. I even declared it at my 20-year reunion the following day. It started out simple. Over the course of that very weekend, I picked up Wisconsin and Ohio, and all the ones near me in Blacksburg, Virginia, where I was living at the time. Before I knew it, I had bagged 20. The high-pointing bug had caught me, and there was no turning around. Now, here I find myself, 10 years later, reminded of Roy Batty, the Blade Runner character played brilliantly by the late Rutger Hauer. I've seen things you people can't imagine. I readily admit that's a bit of a stretch, but highpointing has taken me to places many folks won't go or get to see. I've completed 40 state high points so far, and over the past decade, I've learned a few things. It's one of the best ways to experience all that is the United States. State highpointing reveals what a diverse country the USA really is, and highpointing puts that right up front and center, whether in the woods, plains, deserts, mountains, or even in the city. You also don't have to do this alone. The highpointing community is wonderful, tight-knit, a bit off-centered, and welcoming to people stepping off on this great adventure. It's a group I've come to rely on, whether asking advice or readily sharing information on their latest highpointing achievement. I'd be remiss, though, if I didn't acknowledge my family and friends who've joined in along parts of my personal highpointing adventure. Their help and support has been welcome every step of the way. You may not realize it at the time, but the memories and stories you get from highpointing are some of the best. I recall hiking above the clouds in the Black Hills of South Dakota, looking down at islands of rocky outcrops and spires breaking through them. It felt like something out of The Lord of the Rings. Or the alpenglow painting the Rocky Mountains as we hiked up Mount Elbert, or the streams of water rushing down Eagle Mountain in Minnesota as we trudged through the Boundary Waters. All incredible experiences that I have due to highpointing. Unlike Roy, my memories won't be lost, like tears in the rain. A few years into my adventure, I made a decision to share my experiences with people, a blog and video series called Rooftops of America. The blog has faded away. The video series has mutated from short videos into full-on episodes. Filming the series gave me a greater appreciation of these places and also helped unlock another facet of my personality lurking under the surface, to tell stories. You can make highpointing as complex as you desire. Want to add a hiking goal to your summits? Then go right ahead. Want to ski them all? Well, have at it. Want to do them the fastest? Well, that's all you. As for me, I've dabbled in tri-pointing and plan on doing more. I've tried out county highpointing with less than stellar results, but my big addition was adding in the U.S. major territories and federal district. Now, with half of that particular list being completed as well. For me, 56 is my magic number. I have 13 more state and territory high points yet to go. But they are a challenging baker's dozen, to say the least. Most of them are the mighty western peaks of the lower 48, or in the far reaches of the Pacific Ocean. In some ways, the first 43 I've done feel like a warm-up for these final summits, but I'm excited to press onwards. In my mind's eye, I can see myself on top of Denali. Whether that comes to pass is yet to be determined. To use another sci-fi quote, this time from Yoda, the future is always in motion. I stopped by the Indiana State High Point recently while on my way back home from my 30-year high school reunion. Once again, I had the place to myself on a beautiful August day. It almost felt like a repeat. Surprisingly, Hoosier Hill didn't feel smaller or mundane. It still felt special, and the magic still there, waiting to inspire. I'm Scott Marthaler. Thank you to everyone who has supported and joined me on this high-pointing adventure over the past decade. And thanks for supporting Rooftops of America. Leave a comment below and click those like and subscribe buttons. Know that this journey continues, and I'll see you soon.